All right. All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. In today's YouTube Live, as always, fire away with any questions you have in real time. There's nothing better than getting your question answered on September 25th, 2023 with an answer from September 25th, 2023. When it comes to real estate, when it comes to mortgage lending, things change every single day. So if you have a question and you think that, going to the internet and finding an answer is the game plan, that can work. But the problem when it comes to lending and real estate is that you might ask the question and get an answer that's 4 months old, which might have been a fantastic answer for May of 2023. In today's YouTube Live, not only do I want to do some Q&A, answer your questions, I want to talk about what the Fed said and did last week when they talked about higher for longer, what that means for the real estate market, whether you as a buyer or an investor should view this as a headwind or a tailwind, right? You might be able to adjust your sales and use these higher for longer rates as a tailwind if you're doing what a lot of investors I work with are currently doing. Talk about that later. But first and foremost, we'll just give a brief overview. I'm not going to try to impress you with my mortgage knowledge with fancy words. I'm going to shoot simple and straight. Last week, the Fed got together, and while they paused, they did not increase the federal funds rate. Mortgage interest rates have still seen 3 straight days, going back to last Thursday, last Friday, and then today, Monday, September 25th, of rate increases. Why, you might ask? I'll keep it really simple. The reason why is because they talked about higher for longer in their dot plots and projections for the future of what they plan to do with the Fed funds rate, which will affect 30-year fixed rate mortgages, not on the specific day, but it will affect it. The projections that saw 4 rate cuts in 2024 now see only 2 rate cuts. There's some that believe there won't be any rate cuts, that the Fed is going to crank it up. Mortgage interest rates are going to be higher. Consumer interest rates on debt and on cars and all those things are going to be higher for longer, right? So that's all fine and good. What does it mean for you? If you're buying your first house at the end of 2023, what does it mean for you if you're a real estate investor that says, you know what? I've got this capital sitting on the sidelines. I want to get involved in real estate investing. I've seen some of my peers succeed with it. I've heard that real estate investing is a tried and true method of creating long-term wealth. I want to get involved. Here's what I want to tell you. I talk to a lot of smart people, way smarter than the dummy you're looking at on the screen. Smart money is ready for opportunity. Smart money knows that these next 2 quarters, at the very least, maybe 3, 4, 5 quarters, there's going to be pressure on sellers that need to sell. And we're talking about residential real estate. We could have a sidebar convo about commercial, but for the purpose of this and my business as a residential mortgage broker, go to greatmortgagebroker.com, by the way. You want to connect me and my team, get yourself pre-approved, get yourself in the game. There's going to be some pressure on sellers. There already is. September of 23, you've got sellers that put their home on the market for $550. Their neighbor sold for $565 4 months ago. So $550 is not even a big ask. They do not realize what an impact higher rates have on the buyer demand pool. They also don't realize that the way seasonality works, there's already going to be less buyers in September, October than there were in April and May because it happens every single year, right? So you put those two together where you've got downward pressure via rates and via seasonality on buyer demand. All of a sudden, a seller with a sign in the yard, for sale 550, that doesn't understand all the other things is wondering what the heck is going on. My neighbor got 6 offers when they listed in April, and they were listed at 549, got an offer for 565. It closed in May. I see it. I see the closed sale at 565. And here I am 4 short months later with a house listed at 550 that I can't sell. Nobody's buying. Well, the good news is on the buy side, now all of a sudden you've got some leverage. You might go in at 545 with 5,000 in credit. Use the 5,000 to buy your rate down a little bit. Now it's a lot better looking loan for you as the buyer. And truth be told, if you're the seller, you got to realize that 565 price in May. Let me go back to May. I mean, it wasn't a lot lower, but 0.75% lower in interest. Let's call today 7.5. Let's call mid-May 6.75. That is a difference, right? So that 5,000 in credit might allow your buyer today buy their rate to what it would have been back in May. And so all these things that are going on, pushing buyer demand down, are going to have an impact. Now, the thing that's keeping prices elevated and stable is the fact that there's nothing for sale. You know, new construction is having a heyday, selling a bunch because there's just so few games in town. And so they've got a product that people want. There's not a lot of that product available. And even with half the buyers in the market, there's enough buyers to, saturate that little bit of inventory that they have where they're able to sell that stuff relatively quickly. So fire away with your questions. Kevin Hawthorne, as always, man, thanks for being here. Always showing support from Lakeland, Florida. I just had somebody talk to me today about investing in Lakeland, Florida. If you could, Kevin, tell us, because my buddy said you could still find stuff there, 250,000 or below, pretty good rents out there. I'd be curious if you have any idea, what does hazard insurance look like? Because I don't want to buy a property in Florida where my hazard insurance is, 5 figures per year. I've heard of people having $26,000 a year hazard insurance out there. And, what are the rents versus, something you might buy for 250,000? If you got any insight, Kevin, fire away. AJ, thanks for joining, man. If you're saying good evening, you're probably on the East Coast because it's afternoon here in California. But thanks for joining wherever you're at. Let me know where you're at, how I can help if you have any questions at all. In case people haven't been paying attention, I'll show it here because I think people like to see it, right? Interest rates over the last few months. And here's what I'll do. I'll shorten this up. I'll show you the last year, and then I will back it up over a longer time frame. All right, here's the last year and a half. Share screen. Let's do this one. Mortgage News Daily does a good job. They're not going to gather information and, have 77 people calling you and all that other stuff you might find on other sites. So I still feel good about pointing people to Mortgage News Daily. Granted, this is for folks with great credit and with some discount points being paid. So I've gotten some pushback on like, hey, Mortgage News Daily says 7.5. Why does why is mine 7.625, 7.99, 8.25, right? Some of the scenarios I'm looking at today might have an 8 handle in front of them. If you've got a 694 credit score, if you're putting 3% down, a lot of factors go into that credit score. This is, 20% down, 760 plus credit, maybe even paying a point to show you what this average is of today's is something like 7.51, I think. But this will take you back to March of 22. So about a year and a half. We've seen a good run above 6%, right? All the way back to last September. So people are certainly used to higher interest rates. And we've seen what this high interest rate, lower buyer demand, lower inventory market has looked like. It's been weird, to say the least. At price points where there's, still quite a bit of people trying to get in as first-time home buyers, it's competitive. And you might see 5 or 6 offers. We had one go out last week, and I thought, it was a good looking offer that went out at or slightly above the list price. And I talked to the list site agent, calling as I do to help get the buyer's offer accepted. And they said, Matt, this is a really nice part of Fresno. And this is a really nice house in good condition. And so no surprise, I got 6 offers. They multiple countered with six people, and clients didn't get it. But that's the type of market we're in. For the foreseeable future, you should expect similar, but know that we're headed into, at least for these last 3 months of the year, in my opinion, a shift back towards a buyer's market. More and more leverage on the buyer side, because there's no sugarcoating what a 7.5% interest rate looks like for somebody buying at $500,000 with 3% down or 3.5% down. If you sold a house somewhere and you could put $300,000 down and only finance $200 of it, good for you. The reality is that the vast majority of buyers don't have that luxury. Last I checked, the average down payment was 8%. And I know that I work with plenty of 3% down, 3.5% down, 5% down buyers. So the fact that, they're financing a large portion of their mortgage, and that key component of 97% of the purchase price is financed, 7% versus 5% makes a big difference. I wanted to show it here real quick. I'll get to some of these questions. Here's, if we go back 2010-ish and over the last, call it, decade. And then the people that want to make it look rosy will take you back to the 80s, right? Where some of our parents remember these 18% mortgage rates. Not very relevant, to be completely honest, in my view. It's like, comparatively to the 1980s, this isn't that high. It's, if you're looking out more than a decade, so much stuff has changed that I don't think is a very relevant comparison. But tell me what you think in the comments. I'd be curious to hear. So Brian Adams, thank you, brother. $10 super chat. Every week you guys do a super chat and you fire off some money. Is another week I get to go tell my boys that I'm, 1, a monetized YouTuber, and 2, I'm getting super chats on my live stream. So I'm no Mr. Beast or what are those guys that do all the tricks and stuff? Those guys are fun. Gosh, why can't I think of those guys offhand? Anyhow, but I'm doing my best to provide what I can as far as honest feedback. The better questions you guys ask, the better I can do here. I was on a call earlier. I'm more than willing and able to open up the playbook, tell you anything you want to know on the lending side, from a specific scenario to how and why things work, open up a rate sheet. Happy to do it, because if you're just a little bit more informed, it makes the home buying experience less scary. For most people I talk to, whether you're a nurse or a firefighter, a correctional officer, a teacher, you're good at the job you do day in and day out. You don't look at amortization tables. You don't, care to learn about mortgage and the inner workings of it. My job is to take what some would make complicated and make it easy to understand. Because at the end of the day, it's relatively simple, especially when we're dealing with 30-year fixed rate mortgages. There's principal, interest, tax, and insurance. There's a monthly payment. There's some costs involved with purchasing a house, but it doesn't have to be as complicated as a lot of people make it. So rant over. Thanks again, Brian Adams. I appreciate the heck out of you. AJ, what is the best type of loan we're looking at as a first-time buyer with a great credit score and 5% down? 5-1-2 ARM fixed or 3-1-2 ARM? To be completely honest, AJ, even if you looked for those ARM products, you wouldn't find them. There is not a lender out there that I know of that's doing conforming, meaning, below 726,000 adjustable rate mortgages. Very, very scary for a first-time home buyer to do something like a 3-1 ARM. So I'm glad that the ones that even are available are priced higher than a 30-year fixed. You would never pay a higher interest rate for an adjustable rate than you would for a conventional. So it's for a fixed. So it's forcing you into a fixed rate. But you as a first-time home buyer want a 30-year fixed rate mortgage that's not going to change. You also want to look at, in this environment, getting credits to help cover your closing costs, credits to buy your interest rate down. Now, you can buy your interest rate down permanently, and you can get to a 6.99% interest rate for a little bit of cost and just have that forever. Or what some people are doing, I think this is actually a really smart play, temporary buy downs. You take a seller credit, and either the first year or the first couple years, you have a discounted rate, you have a smaller payment, and then your loan settles into a 7.5% 30-year fixed in years 3 through 30, as an example. What that does for you, one, allows you to ease into your payment you'd have at a 7.5% interest rate, today's current rate. Or if you refinance, let's say that a 5.99 is available 18 months from now. You refinance into that, you get a refund of whatever unused seller credit is sitting in this buy down escrow account. And so that's what I would recommend. Sometimes I feel like it can get complicated, but trust me, if you're pre-approved, if you're house hunting and you've got a mortgage broker who cares about you and can show you these scenarios, you'll be able to put together a game plan and structure a mortgage that makes sense for you, more now than ever. Ryan Lundquist, thanks for joining, brother. I appreciate you. It seems like we should believe the Fed higher for longer. Yep. We're definitely going to believe it now, right? If you didn't believe him before, you got to believe him now. Exactly like you said. And nobody knows it better than Ryan Lundquist, SacramentoAppraisalBlog.com. If you guys haven't checked out SacramentoAppraisalBlog.com, highly, highly recommend it. Great blog. Ryan puts out some great info. So I appreciate that. Appreciate having you. Rates haven't been this high since Memento, The Replacements, or Bring It On. Which ones have you seen? I am so bad, Ryan. I'm going to admit this here, at remembering movies. Even if I saw these, I wouldn't be able to tell you like the first thing about it, especially from 25 years ago. The Replacements, I'm pretty sure I've seen. I don't even want to guess, man. This is like, because we're going back to my high school days, right? If we're going back 25 years. There's a chance I've seen all three. There's also a chance it's only 2 out of 3. I've heard of all 3. Final answer. Thanks for joining, man. What was I going to share? Oh yeah, on the higher for longer with the Fed. This Friday, our inflation number comes in. We can be fancy. We can call it PCE. Consumer Price Index. No. Personal Consumption Expenditure, or whatever, right? And there's a core PCE. There's a headline PCE. The basically what you would pay for a basket of goods as a consumer. The headline number is expected to go up from 3.3 year over year to 3.5. The core number is expected to go down from 4.2 to 3.9%. Now, what the Fed does with that data when it comes out and how they speak about it, I feel like can be spun either way, but it's going to be more than likely evidence for them to say, listen, we told you inflation was stubborn. We told you we got to go higher for longer. We told you this is going to be a long, ugly fight. So that's why we have to continue to batten down the hatches, keep rates high, destroy everything in sight, including mortgage demand, until we have inflation under control. So this Friday, that'll be an interesting one to look out for. that, PCE number that will be this Friday, September 29th. Michael Mejia, thanks for joining. I appreciate having you on. I was told that on a 3.5% FHA loan, it doesn't matter if my credit score is 690 or 740 because I would get the same rate. Is that true? Not necessarily, but let me do you this solid and let's price it live and direct. I wonder if they were referring to the mortgage insurance, right? Because the mortgage insurance doesn't change no matter what your credit score on FHA. The truth of the matter also is that on FHA, your credit score is going to have a lesser impact on the rate, but you should see a difference between 690 and 740. I'm going to confirm it. I'm pricing $400,000 purchase, 3.5% down, taking out the adjustable rates, going FHA. All right, 740. Let's go. Let's see what we got. We got a couple different lenders. We got my friends at Windsor. We have my friends at EPM. I just priced it a couple just so I can get a good feel for what we're working with. All right, now I've got my base case, and we're looking at, call it 7.1 at the 740 purchase price. 7.125, very small cost. Now, and everybody's the same at $176 a month in mortgage insurance. That's the one thing that won't change. What'd I say? 7.125? 7.125, 7.5 bips cost. Next to nothing. Call it par. 7.125. Now, go back. Go 690. The moment of truth. I appreciate these questions, man. Somebody else might be thinking the same thing. This might be providing somebody else with value. So fire away with the questions all day, every day. True story, same price. FHA is a lot less affected by interest rate. I bet you if you go below 680, it'll change. But so far, we didn't see a difference between 740 and 690. So let me do that. I'll give you a little 677 action. I bet you this is not as good. But it's going to be really incremental. It's going to be a small change. But the information you were given is correct. That's good to know. FHA, Elite. Wow, 677, it doesn't even change. What's going on? And this is why, too, even a lender that prices 50 things a day, it's always good just get in there and test the system. I just typed in 630. Sub 640, that's where we start changing. Now we went from 7 1/8 to like 8 1/8, under 640. Holy moly. Credit score adjusters. 125 basis point adjustment for that sub 640. Ouch. That done hurt. So that's the thing. 640 and above might all be considered elite on that FHA deal. And granted, this is only one lender. I should have looked at the other lenders. Shame on me. Oh, wait. 640? Yeah, that's 50 basis points worse. So that's like 7.1 to 7.3. So where was it? 660? Must be a 680 to 740 bucket, right? That you were playing in right there. 680 plus is all, or 660 plus is all good in the same bucket. 7.1. Where am I at on this one? 660. Yep, 660 and up. Good to go. All right. Well, that solves that. All right. So I want to talk about, before I go, I got some business to attend to, but we talked about low purchase mortgage applications, right? Like the lowest level. Jason Walter, who's a buddy of mine, who's got a great YouTube channel, a lot of stats, does a lot of stuff, was showing the chart where purchase mortgage applications, like right at 1995 levels. So the worst we've seen in 28 years when it comes to how many people are applying for mortgages. The important thing is, what does that mean for you? For you as a buyer. What you're going to see, like my boy Brian Adams has already seen, prices will be cut, right? Less mortgage applications, less buyers in the market. Like, that is the simplest supply and demand there is. Granted, there's less inventory than there was last year. There's significantly more than there was in 2021. But even with less inventory, we're going to be in a position where if 40, 50, 60% of the buyer demand gets sucked out of the market, you will be in a position as a buyer, especially. Here's where, like, if you took nothing else from tuning into the live stream, take this thing out. Where this is going to matter the most and where you're going to find the best deals as a buyer is the homes that already don't get a lot of looks. Example, that Fresno property I told you about, 500,000, great neighborhood, great schools. Everybody wants it. It's turnkey. 6 offers. Like, there could be like next to no inventory. The thing's still going to sell. Go 4 blocks over. Worst school district. The house has got wallpaper. Nobody wants it. It's an ugly duckling. That home will sit. In this market, that home will sit even more. Someone will come in and get a phenomenal deal on that property. Another example, you've got something that's 1.9 million. It's not turnkey. It needs a lot of work. It's a probate sale. I may or may not be talking about a real scenario. It gets listed for probably more than it should have. $2 million. This is a real deal I'm talking about. They realize somebody spending $2 million in Riverside doesn't want a cosmetic fixer, doesn't want to fix anything, wants to buy something for $2 million and move in the next day. With that kind of coin, you're not looking to roll up your sleeves and do, new laminate flooring yourself. It's just how it is. Price reduction, price reduction, price reduction. May or may not be getting a contract in the next 24 hours where the property they tried to sell in May for $2 million will be sub 1.4. That's a pretty big discount. Call it 600 grand. And that's an example of the stuff that you're going to see tremendous price cutting, tremendous deals being had. Again, you have to remember that it's segmented. Ryan Lundquist has the best example I've ever heard of this when it comes to the real estate market. It's like a hot pocket. You heat it up for 2 minutes and 30 seconds or whatever the directions say. No matter how good you try to do it, there's going to be a cold corner. There's going to be a scorching hot, like burn the roof of your mouth portion of it. And there's going to be something that's like somewhere in between. That's how real estate works. Perfect house, perfect neighborhood, perfect condition, perfect price, sells no problem. 5 offers, regardless of how low like the demand is. A property that's a little bit funky, layout's a little bit weird, would make a great rental because it's got 3 bedrooms. But Layout's weird. It's got wallpaper. Maybe it's next door to some commercial buildings. I don't know what it is, but it doesn't attract the same attention as the other one. That is the property that will sell at a larger discount in the type of market we're entering. The luxury stuff that has less buyers as it is going to sit. It's going to be reduced. People are going to find deals. Yours truly might try to put something together on one of those. So be on the lookout. Be ready for opportunity. If you tilt your sails, this is what I talked about. Is it a headwind or is it a tailwind? Tilt your sails and go, you know what? Me and my client, this is you as the client, but I'm telling myself right now, me and my clients might want to shift a little bit and go look at the ugly ducklings. This thing's been on the market for 37 days. It's in a zip code. It's at a price point that usually moves pretty fast. Why is it not moving? Do I care about living on this street where it's got a 35-mile-an-hour speed limit? You know, not ideal, but if I can get it for 15% below list, maybe I should consider it. Things like that, man. It's coming. It's coming. Be ready. That's my best advice to people. If you want to tilt the sails just a little bit, get the wind at your back. Don't look for the turnkey property in, you know, on the best street in the best neighborhood with the best schools. Doesn't mean you can't move to that neighborhood. Maybe you find something that needs a little bit of work. It's got some wallpaper and, you know, some shag carpeting. Those ones are sitting. Some of the stuff that's sitting is surprising me. Not surprising me a ton because I know the numbers. There's less demand, but surprising me in like, man, dude, with 15,000 in work, this thing's a gem in a nice neighborhood. So be on the lookout for that stuff. If I can help you in any way, I'm more than happy to. As you know, you fire away an email to me. You leave a comment. I'll try to respond to it. If you're looking to get pre-approved, so you're really ready, so you've got that part out of the way, you know the numbers, you know what you're looking for, you know what your target price point is and what the corresponding mortgage looks like, go to greatmortgagebroker.com. We're licensed in 48 states, so we're happy to help you wherever. Look at the light coming in out the windows. Beautiful Sacramento day, 78 degrees. What the heck am I doing inside the office? Got to get out. Thanks for watching. Hopefully this helps. Till next time, we gonna see.